Hello and welcome to Gaming with Assholes, and this is our guide for Winston in Overwatch. Today I'm just going to be showing you the
Imagination
absolute
is the
basics
essence of
of this
discovery.
hero. His weapon, his abilities, how to use them, and some of his pros and cons, his strengths and weaknesses. So the first thing with Winston is his weapon is the Tesla cannon, which, as you can see here, has a very short range. As I approach, you can see this is how close you have to be to deal damage, and also you notice damage output isn't very high, but it's consistent. The Tesla cannon deals damage in a cone, so if I come and find some enemies that are a little bit closer together, you can see this in effect. Like over here. You can see I can aim here, right in the middle, and I can hit both. And down they go. His first ability is the jump pack. You can see here. This is what gives Winston his mobility. This is what makes him such a powerful tank. Despite the fact that he is in fact a tank class and is meant for, mitigating damage, soaking damage, he is insanely mobile. So as you can see, for example, when you're playing against a team that has a Widowmaker, and let's say you're on offense, if you're, attacking on a payload map or something, they'll very often have a sniper waiting off in the distance. What I tend to do with Winston is if there's a sniper that my team can't really take care of, I'll take an alternate route, I'll leap up to where the sniper is, and usually Widowmaker tends to be scoped in most of the time, so you can kind of drop in on them, light them up, and you can usually take them down to at least half health before they even notice you're there. His next ability is the barrier projector. And what that does is pops a barrier that covers you in 360 degrees. So you can see it's kind of like a bubble shield. And what's beneficial about that is, especially on payload maps, you can use this
sense a pattern developing.
On the payload, and it will move with it. So, for example, even if I can get on this platform here, you can see that if I pop a shield on here,
This will protect
it moves
us.
with what it's on. So even though this is a moving target, the barrier will stay with me. So you can use that on the payload and use it for some extra defense. This is especially useful if you have a Bastion on your team that's in turret mode on top of the payload, which is a strategy I've seen used multiple times. Myself and my team have used it multiple times. Winston's ultimate is Primal Rage. What he does is he gains 10,000 health. He switches to melee only, and he loses the ability to pop his barrier shield, but as you see, you get 10 seconds, and it sends enemies flying, so you can knock enemies off the map, like so. So when you're playing against an enemy team,
Appear to have lost
that
control.
really comes in handy, especially on point capture and even payload. If the enemy team has a teleporter up and they're contesting you getting
I
that
consider
last,
violence a last
5 or 10
resort.
feet to getting the payload to the next checkpoint, or even the final checkpoint to win the game, you can use that to kind of hop in and just push everybody out of the way. And plus, you get so much health while you're doing so that you're pretty much unstoppable. The things you do have to be careful with Winston's ultimate is that Roadhog's ultimate is a really good counter to it, because it knocks you back and it deals a crap load of damage. So even though you get 1,000 health, it really it can really melt you down. The other thing when in Winston's ultimate is that the cooldown on your jump packs is reduced to 2 seconds, so you can use it far more frequently. So my strategy when using it is, before I pop my ultimate, I kind of take note of where all the enemies are, and then I'll prioritize them and say, alright, I'm going to take out the squishy DPS types first, and then go more towards, the slightly tankier heroes, maybe your support classes, like your Bastions and your Torbjorns, and then go more towards the tanky heroes to take them out next. Because that way you can usually end up getting the most kills and the most bang for your buck when you use your ultimate. Really the main thing with Winston is just knowing how and when to place your shield.
Barrier up.
Because as you can see, like, if you put it in the right spot, if you can protect your teammates, they can get inside the bubble.
Coming through.
it's not as much damage absorption as something like, say, Reinhardt's shield. It doesn't have that much overall damage mitigation, but the fact that it covers in a 360-degree radius is a real big bonus, especially when you're dealing with a map that's very open. And then the other big thing with Winston is just learning how his jump packs work. Because, you know, you see, if you want to get to high places, it's really just a matter of learning where to look and learning what the arc is on his jump. Just another quick tip for playing Winston well. One of the things that I've used his jump pack and ultimate for is, let's say these are 3 enemies and I'm getting lit up and my health is dropping. What I'll do is, and this is just pure mind games, so if I'm sitting here fighting these guys and I'm really low on health, I'll jump straight up in the air, I'll pop my bubble, when it comes down, pop my ultimate, then leap in and start, you know, annihilating some fellas. And that's just pure mind games. I've also used it in a tricky situation where, you know, let's say I can see in my kill feed that, you know, my team's getting lit up, and like, let's say 2 of them died, but we also took 1 or 2 of theirs out. You know, my death would not be beneficial. So if I find myself caught out of position and I'm starting to get lit up, I've actually used my ultimate just for survival purposes, which, you know, it isn't optimal, but if, you know, you have to read kind of the flow of the game, but I've used it for escape purposes. I think I'll sit here and just take some damage from these little things. It's gonna take a minute, but, you know, in those situations where, you know, you might have 1 or 2 people that kind of caught you out of position. You know, it can really come in handy to save your life.
That's smart.
Winston is a very, very tanky character, despite the fact that, you know, he doesn't have just like the raw damage mitigation that like a Reinhardt might have. But you can come in there and just be like, nope, and just get right the hell out of dodge, which is what makes him such a fucking, just a great tank class. And then, as you can see, when his ultimate wears out, you go right back up to full health and shields. Now, the HUD says 500 out of 500, but it's actually 2 separate stats. He has 400 health and 100 shields. Another thing to remember is just don't forget about your melee. Since Winston is already such a close-range damage dealer, you know, don't forget about your melee. So if you expend, you know, an entire clip getting somebody down and you run out, don't forget you got that big ass gorilla arm. Use it. And that's pretty much it for the basics of Winston. When it comes to the finer details, there will be other videos on that, and you know, just some tips and tricks on movement, different routes you can take, shortcuts, etc., etc. There will be map-specific videos for Winston coming out, but thank you for tuning in. I hope this helped you out. Just kind of get a little introduction to our furry friend Winston.